Howdy. I saw this today and I didn't really have time to dive into that, but now I had time to read it. And it's very interesting. Huge ancient solar storm revealed by tree rings in French Alps. I have been talking about the Alps a lot. Mountain water and such. Fossil Scots pine trees, tree remains whose fossilization process is not complete, are seen in the Drousse River near Gap in southern French Alps. And this handout photo taken in 2021. Yes, there is a lot of earthquake activity near Gap in France or in the French Alps. I don't know if anybody else knows this, but I know. I could make almost every day a video about a quake which is considered near Gap. Now let's go over and check it out if there's any. Yeah, there has been a quake, rather deep actually, 2 days ago, 28 kilometers. And also, what I think is interesting is that here we have a 2.4, but here the other ones say it's a 3.8. Whatever the case may be, let's go over to the French Alps and see if there is something near Gap. Chamonix? Maybe it's not this time. Near Aosta? Very often it says near Gap. Is there a third one? Gourmayeur? Gourmayeur 1. Yeah. Let's just earthquake fatal for go to 2 days. Maybe this time there is no near Gap. Courmayeur. I don't know where Gap actually is, but it says very often near Gap. Not this time. Anyway, doesn't matter. Or is it down here? Maybe. Near Gap. Yes. Haha. Check it out. I was at the wrong place. Near Gap. Near Turin. But 16 hours ago there has been a 0.8 near Gap, 5 kilometers under the surface, which means sea level. Yeah, there isn't a too big distance to water sources. And there's another one here on the other side. But anyway, let's go back to the article. Now that you know that there is some earthquake activity almost constantly near Gap, or Gap in French, I don't know. Annual growth rings inside the ancient remains of Scots pine trees in the southern French Alps have revealed evidence of the largest known solar storm, one that might have fried satellites and knocked out electricity grids, had it occurred today. Yes, probably it would have done much more, as partially is explained in my Finnish copper playlist. And there we are not really talking about what the sun did 12,000 years ago, but what other planets probably have done in between those 12,000 years. And here you can see some of the pictures what I think geomagnetically induced currents can do to Earth. It could make it glow and grow. But anyway, Let's try to go somehow through the article. Researchers said on Monday the solar storm, the sun sending a large burst of energetic particles into space, occurred 14,300 years ago. Some say it's 12,000 approximately. But anyway, evidence for it manifested as a huge spike in radiocarbon, an isotope or form of the element carbon, detected in the growth rings of the tree remains along the Druse River near the town Gap. Yeah, we have to take those dates very carefully because they could be off by a big percentage. Earth at the time was in the grips of the last ice age as human hunter-gatherers eked out a living in difficult conditions in many places around the world. This might be just an assumption, which could be wrong. At the time, those living on Earth would have likely first seen a bright solar flare, a flash in the sky, said Tim Heaton, a professor of applied statistics. Yeah, that's something interesting. At the University of Leeds in England, and one of the authors of the study published in the Royal Society's Philosophical Transaction A, Mathematical, Physical and Engineering Science Journal. Then, several hours later, they likely would have seen a huge aurora in the sky that would have extended much further towards the equator than current auroras. They wouldn't have noticed the high energy particles or been aware that they were experiencing a geomagnetic disturbance, Heating added. Yeah, that's also an assumption. Energetic solar particles would have flooded Earth's upper atmosphere, causing a chain of nuclear reactions and leading to a sudden spike in production of radiocarbon that would have been absorbed into the tissue of growing trees. It also quite likely would have electrified whole Earth. But anyway, we go back to this theme in a second. About 10 years ago, scientists discovered that extreme solar events, including solar flares and coronal mass ejections, can create short-term bursts of energetic particles that can create spikes in radiocarbon production occurring over the course of a single year, said Edouard Barth, a professor of climate and ocean evolution at the Collège de France and the research center Serge. 9 such extreme solar storms have been identified using tree ring radiocarbon evidence, with the most recent 774 and 993 AD, which could be also the planet Mars, not the Sun. Tree rings of a buried subfossil, Scots pine tree. Tree remains whose fossilization process is not complete. In the Druse River near Gap in the southern French Alps are seen in this handout photo taken in 2021. The largest directly observed solar storm, called the Carrington event, occurred in 1859, wreaking havoc on telegraphs and creating a nighttime aurora so bright that birds sang as if the sun was rising. The one 14,300 years ago would have been something like 10 times more severe. Yeah, I've been talking about the Carrington event to some degree. If you haven't heard about it, read about it. And then just imagine how much more electricity and electronics we have nowadays. And what happened back in the days? There were like telegraph signals transmitting despite everything being unplugged and partially molten. There was so much energy in Earth's crust that things just melted. Yeah, the metals. The effects of solar storms can disable electronics. If similar solar storms happen today, they could be catastrophic for society as we are so reliant upon technology, Heaton said. They could do enormous damage to our electricity grids, potentially causing nationwide blackouts lasting months, permanently putting satellites out of action with the huge bursts of energetic particles destroying their solar panels and stopping us communicating with them, and pose severe radiation risks to astronauts and aviation. In the worst case scenario, the impact could cost us billions or even trillions of dollars in lost GDP, Heaton added. Yeah, if there would be some 10 times a strong Carrington event today, I think there wouldn't be any money anymore. Because it's all just a computational construct. And whatever gold reserves would be in somewhere bunkers, they would just melt as the bunkers themselves probably do. And you couldn't eat it anyway. The trees buried at the end of the last glaciation period had begun to fossilize but still retained organic material. The good preservation of the trunks and their in-life position, still rooted, with pieces of bark remaining, indicate that the trees were rather quickly buried, said study co-author Cécile Miramont, a professor of paleoenvironments and paleoclimate at Marseille University in France, and the research institute IMBE. Subfossil wood originates when wood is buried in an anaerobic environment with an absence of microbial and chemical degradation. Or it is instant fossilization. Peter Mungo Jupp explained the process and showed many examples. And I really recommend you to check out the video. Instant fossilization happens due to electricity. Actually, I think it's appropriate to give him the word. So now let's have a listen to him for a little while.
Plasmoids wreak fire and destruction, and according to Egan Back, they've burnt down cities and tunnelled through mountains. And in great fear, the ancients called these ground-emerging destroyers Gorgons. Hesiod was writing around about 900 BC. Petrification of rock under the sea. Now, it would seem that the Gorgons may have been active in Australian Aboriginal mythology. Verbal records and dance traditions recorded these demonic plasmoids at many sites and in various forms. Their rainbow serpent was responsible for carving river systems, that's Lichtenberg scars, on the face of the earth, and even held responsible for building mountains and forming lakes. Fantasy, you might ask? Well, I don't believe it was fantasy. Let's go on to the next. So here we go. We're in search of the causes of petrification. We've dealt a little bit about mythology. What about going to the scientific side of things and plasma physics? Anthony Pratt certainly is an advocate of giant plasma discharges that shaped history. To him, this mythology could be simulated in his laboratory. But what evidence do we have that electrical phenomena can cause elements to transmute? E.g., water, and I say water so think about that, to calcium. What tool of nature fossilised these once watery marine ammonites, the ones along the Jurassic coast? We have a powerful clue. Now there's two. There's Eric Milton and some work Wall did at the Telstra laboratories years ago, which gives you an indication of the power of electrical discharge. The conversion of the wood to rock. Wall again demonstrates the creation of fulgurites by a powerful electric discharge. Yeah. There we go. Right there in that light. Right there. What is this wall?
This is fulgurite. It's fused silica, which follows the path of the lightning or electrical discharge.
Was this how these trees were petrified? Further evidence comes from Canada. E.R. Milton describes his examination of a petrified tree trunk in Alberta. The piece was pure, clean silica inside. It was coated with a rough, opaque crust of partially fused sand. The tree whose stump was petrified was alive 5 years ago. After the tree was cut down to accommodate the right-of-way for a new power transmission line, an accidental break allowed the live high voltage wire to contact several tree stumps in the ground. The power was cut off within hours of the break. All of the tree roots which contacted the broken wire were fossilised. Obviously, electricity can metamorphosize matter quickly.
So I really recommend you to watch the whole video. It's very interesting. So back to the article. Subfossil wood originates when wood is buried in an anaerobic environment with the absence of microbial and chemical degradation. Or it happened, as I just showed you, it could have happened. And I have been talking about that, how the Alps got created. Yeah, by this picture, basically, I maybe should have or could have draw this feature here, which is, no, it's this one. That's this feature. Or possible, this is just one example how it could have happened. From Campifligre to the Eiffel volcanic complex. An arc, and in between are the Alps created, or were the Alps created. Maybe there has been more than one of these events happening in the past. So this is just one possibility of how it could have happened. And since he was also talking about plasmoids, I have been talking about these as well. The element of fire, and here is somehow what I think how Earth basically works. Because there is a plasma as a center. It's like a geoid, but alive, where a current is running through. And if you zoom into this laboratory picture of plasma, these spots where the plasma reaches this boundary are the spots where we have volcanoes. But anyway, let's go back to the article. I put links below to these things. You can check them out. So, yeah, there's not much left of the article. But anyway, we do not know what causes such extreme solar storms to occur, how frequently they might occur, or if we can predict them, Heaton said. This is the big question. Will our communications, electricity grids, and satellites mostly be able to withstand their impacts and just suffer temporary effects before quickly coming back online? Or will they catastrophically fail? Yeah. You can check out the links. I've been talking also about the sun cycles. And yeah, that's a rather interesting article. Now they found partially petrified trees in the Alps. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. There could be also the water having its effect to this petrification. But then the question must be asked of why there is this kind of water there, which could then relate back to the creation of the Alps. But anyway, it's up to you to think about these things. I just try to bring forth some information and maybe some hints or clues for whatever you think about the thing, and make your own conclusions, make your own research. But anyway, interesting things. There's also, or there are also interesting things going on, which hopefully can be soon talked about. Yeah. There has been a very interesting Friday afternoon. Very interesting. One of the most interesting, probably ever. But it seems too early to talk about it. So probably I still have to wait a bit. Wait for it. Thanks. Bye.